doctrine you had to have a wife. And they're trying to convince the world Paul was married. No. Paul was not married. Paul said here in this text, now concerning virgins, I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment as one that hath obtained mercy of the Lord to be faithful. Mm-hmm. So he's declaring he himself is a faithful virgin. Although he understands the distress of virgins. Now, we go into a discourse in verse 26 and the commandments, verse 27. Mm-hmm. But to understand it, we'll read 26. I suppose, therefore, that it is good for the present distress. I say that it is good for a man so to be, for a man to be a virgin. Mm-hmm. Then 27, art thou bound unto a wife? Now, be careful with the wording here. This thing has thrown many people into a hole. Okay? For sure. It's made shipwreck of many. Are you bound unto a wife? Here's the commandment. Seek not to be loosed. And you have to interpret what is the binding, what is the loosing. Second commandment. Art thou loose from a wife? Seek not a wife. All right, so let me give you the problems of the verse. The word loosed is the word divorced. Mm-hmm. So some people say. The word loosed is the word divorced. And there are Bibles that actually write it like that. Yet you'll read in many places where the word loose, like Satan was loosed from the pit, doesn't mean he was divorced from the pit. And you've got to be careful with what you think is the word loosed.
And what Jesus said to the woman too, thou art loose.
There.
Free.
And so the word loosed was not always used as the word divorced, and people get dogmatic. Sure. Now, I'm going to point out something to you which is going to sound very strange to your ears. When you're a virgin and you decide to marry a woman, now, the both of you are virgin, like this case, he's writing unto virgins. And you're only engaged. You're not actually married. And yet it says, seek not to be loosed. And you've got to say, well, wait a minute. If the word loosed, like two virgins engaged, what are they going to, get a divorce? They're not even married yet. They're only engaged. Well, you better read carefully what's called the customs of the times, or the times and the customs. When you go back to Joseph, he finds Mary, his espoused wife, they're both virgin, is pregnant. Then the Bible said he was thinking to put her away, which means to divorce her. And they're not married. They're only engaged. But to show you in those days when you were engaged, it meant you're getting married. There's no way out of this unless you legally
do something wrong.
You've got to break it by something very similar to a divorce. So that's why I say we've got to be careful with the way this is worded. But anyway, let's look. I believe there's two commandments here. Seek not to be loosed, seek not a wife. So we'll just write it down as two commandments.
So Doctor, the interesting thing, if being engaged is as good as being married,
yes,
then an engagement doesn't need to be for any length of time.
That's right. And actually, you'll notice that when Joseph was only engaged to Mary, the Holy Spirit said, take unto you your wife. So before God, they were already married, even though they were not before men. Which goes back to another understanding of the Bible. Things happen in heaven before they happen on the earth.
But it says, if you're loose from her, from a wife, seek not a wife. So
Okay, so if you're
engaged,
a virgin and you're not even engaged,
no, because it says, art thou loose from a wife? So you would have had to have one to be loose from one.
okay, interpret it that way then. Somebody that was engaged
Right.
and then someone loosed them. Okay, interpret it that way, but keep it in the context, they're virgins he's talking to.
It says, seek not a wife. If you're
Then he
loose from a wife.
says, do not seek a wife.
So if you're engaged and you're loose from that engagement, don't look for another wife.
Yeah, because he's probably leaving one for another one.
Or he could be emphasizing the fact that he himself was a faithful virgin who was not seeking any wife. And specified in a few places, whatever state God finds you, therein remain. Are you bound? Stay in it. Are you loosed? Then don't bother looking for one. So, not all people can follow that. That's a hard thing.
Yeah.
But there are some people that would do it. They would do that for the Lord. They would stay single till they die.
One other question, because I've had trouble with this chapter. And one problem I had was reconciling that verse 27 with Proverbs 18:22. He that finds a wife findeth a good thing,
Yeah,
finds favor in the Lord.
right.
So that's speaking to those who have already been bound. Not the Lord has found them in a position of singleness, and then they're finding a wife, and that's a good thing.
Okay, I suppose